You know how people say weddings bring families together? Yeah, not mine. My name's Spencer. I'm 27. And a week before what was supposed to be the happiest day of my life, I got a phone call from my mom that made me question everything. My family, my place in it, and whether they ever actually saw me as more than just expendable. I grew up in one of those families where image mattered more than truth, and where favoritism wasn't subtle. It was broadcast loud and clear every Sunday dinner. My younger brother, Tyler, was the golden child. He was the one who could do no wrong, even when he very clearly did wrong a lot. He got caught cheating in high school. Boys will be boys. Failed out of college his first year. He just needs time to find his path. Crashed my dad's car while high. Well, at least he's okay. That's what matters. Me? I was the responsible one. The straight-A kid. The first to graduate college. The one who paid rent on time, remembered birthdays, and called home even when things were good, not just when I needed something. I didn't mind it at first. I figured if I just kept doing the right thing, they'd see me too. Turns out, some people only look in one direction, and for my parents, that direction was wherever Tyler was standing. Still, I kept the peace. I stayed quiet. I smiled through the slights. When Tyler borrowed money and never paid me back, I let it go. When he showed up 2 hours late to my graduation and made a scene about how boring the ceremony was, I bit my tongue. When my parents forgot to even ask about my job promotion last year, but gushed endlessly about Tyler's new DJ gig that lasted 3 weeks, I just smiled and nodded. It was easier than rocking the boat. But this wedding? This was supposed to be mine. For once. Just once. I met Emily 3 years ago. She's brilliant. Funny. The kind of person who remembers your coffee order after the first date and brings your mom flowers even when your mom doesn't deserve them. We started planning our wedding almost a year ago. We picked a small vineyard just outside town. Nothing crazy, just intimate, beautiful, and us. We locked in the date. Sent out the invitations. Chose the menu. Emily even found the perfect dress, and I swear I've never seen her light up like she did when she tried it on. Everything was falling into place. Until last Monday. I was on my lunch break at work when my phone buzzed. It was my mom. I was already suspicious. She never really called me during the day unless something was wrong. I picked up, balancing my sandwich in one hand and my phone in the other. "Hi, honey," she said, too sweet. That voice she uses when she's about to drop a bomb and wants to soften the landing. "Hey, Mom. Everything okay?" There was a pause. "Spencer, your brother got Kayla pregnant." My brain froze for a second. Kayla was his on-again, off-again girlfriend of 2 years, and let's just say, they weren't exactly stable. "Oh," I said, unsure what reaction she was expecting. "Wow, that's big news. Are they happy about it?" "Well," she said, dragging the word out like it hurt her, "they're processing. But it's really important to us that Tyler steps up and does the right thing. And we've been talking, and we think it's best that he and Kayla get married. Soon." I blinked. "Okay. What does that have to do with me?" Another pause. Longer this time. I could hear the clink of her stirring coffee or tea in the background. "Well, Spencer, sweetie, we think it would make sense for them to use your venue." I actually laughed. I thought she was kidding. "You mean, have another wedding at the vineyard?" No, she said, her voice tightening like I was being difficult. "We mean instead of yours. Same place. Same decorations. Same caterer. We've already talked to Kayla's parents, and they love the idea." I stopped breathing for a second. "You're serious?" "Spencer, you're a good brother. You always have been. And Tyler's really trying. He wants to be a good father, and we just think he should be a husband before the baby comes. That's important to us. You want me to cancel my wedding and give everything to Tyler?" "It's not like that," she rushed in. "We just think it's the most practical choice. Your date is soon. It's all already planned out. And it's not like you're losing anything, just postponing. A few months. Maybe." I felt my hand gripping the phone tighter. "What about the deposits? The guests? The dress?" Emily's parents already bought plane tickets. "I'm sure they'll understand. Family comes first, right? And Tyler needs this. He's scared, but he's ready to grow up, and this would mean the world to him." She didn't stop there. "Oh no," she kept going. "We even thought it would be sweet if you let him use your groomsmen lineup. Kayla doesn't have many friends, and your people already know the roles. Oh, and your ring bearer, Oliver, right? He's so cute. Kayla loves him. She'd be thrilled to have him walk down the aisle." My jaw was on the floor. "You want me to cancel my wedding?" Give them my venue. Let them use my friends, my ring bearer, and what? Emily's dress code too. Actually, yes, she said, almost sheepishly. Kayla really likes the aesthetic you guys chose. Sage green and cream. It's so tasteful. That was the moment something broke in me. Like a thread snapping after years of being pulled too tight. I'd swallowed so many things. Let so many moments pass. But this was my wedding. Our wedding. The one day that was supposed to be about me and Emily. And they wanted to hand it over like I was just some stand-in planner who'd done the hard work so Tyler could show up and take the credit. I was quiet for a second. Then I laughed. Not the polite kind. Not even the fake kind. A real laugh. Dry. Cold. Congrats, I said. That's really something. I hope it all works out. Oh, honey, thank you. I knew you'd. I hung up. I just ended the call. No yelling. No begging. No explanation. Just one clean click. Then I opened my contacts, scrolled to the vineyard number, and called them. Hi. I said, after confirming my booking info. Can we move the wedding up 2 weeks? I think we're ready sooner than expected. The woman on the other end said it wouldn't be a problem. I could almost hear the smile in her voice. No rush on notifying the guests, I said. It's going to be a surprise. And it would be. Just not the kind my family was expecting. Let's just say, if they thought I was going to step aside quietly, they never really knew me at all. The week after that phone call felt like something out of a fever dream. Emily and I moved the wedding date up without a word to anyone. Not even our closest friends knew yet. We decided to keep it quiet, not out of secrecy, but because we needed time to wrap our heads around what had just happened. Or maybe I needed time. Emily saw the writing on the wall months ago. I was the one still holding on to some tattered version of hope that my family might treat me like I mattered. Spoiler, they didn't. The day after I hung up on my mom, Tyler called me. I let it ring. He called again. Then he texted. Yo, Mom said you're being dramatic. Can we talk? I didn't ask for your wedding. It was just an idea. Come on, man, don't be a jerk. Kayla's freaking out, and I don't need this stress. No apology. No ownership. Just that same whiny, manipulative tone he always used when things didn't go his way. I ignored him, and a few hours later, I got a message from my dad. Spencer, I don't know what's going on, but you need to grow up. Tyler needs support right now, not petty tantrums. Family sticks together. Family. That word hit differently now, because I'd been sticking together for 27 years. I stuck together when they forgot my birthday because Tyler got a speeding ticket. I stuck together when they asked me to co-sign for his second car loan, then got mad when I said no. I stuck together when they pawned off his mistakes on growing pains and mine on selfishness. And now, apparently, sticking together meant canceling my wedding and handing it over like a party rental. I spent that week buried in wedding logistics with Emily. She handled it like a champ, calm, focused, like she was in her element. But I knew it hurt her. She'd always felt like my parents didn't really accept her. They were cordial at best, cold at worst. My mom once called her overly ambitious because she asked about my promotion before my parents even did. My dad made a passive-aggressive comment at Thanksgiving about how women these days don't cook like they used to, while Emily was literally the one who brought the entire dinner in Tupperware because their oven broke down. Still, she'd never said a word against them. Not once. Until that night. We were lying in bed, both staring at the ceiling in silence. I'd just gotten off the phone with the florist confirming the date change. Everything was set. Spence, she said quietly. Yeah. Do you still want them at the wedding? The question felt like a punch to the chest. I hadn't let myself go there yet. I don't know, I admitted. It feels wrong not to. But it also feels worse to pretend this didn't happen. Emily turned to face me. Your mom asked us to give up everything. She didn't ask them to compromise. She didn't ask Tyler to wait, or find a different venue, or even plan his own wedding. She wanted to take what we built and hand it over like it didn't matter. I didn't respond. I didn't need to. We both knew she was right. But I still wasn't ready to cut them off. Not yet. Maybe some part of me was hoping they'd come around. That hope died 2 days later. I was working late, trying to make up hours I'd lost rearranging the wedding, when my phone buzzed again. It was a message from Kayla. We weren't close. I barely knew her beyond the occasional awkward family gathering where she'd cling to Tyler like a security blanket and avoid eye contact. Her message was bold. Hey, just wanted to say thank you again for stepping aside. The venue is gorgeous. I can't wait to see what the caterer comes up with. Your mom showed me pics of Emily's bouquet. Do you think your florist could do something similar for ours? Maybe bigger, though? Haha. Also, Tyler mentioned you hadn't sent over the ring bearer's info yet. I need to order his little outfit soon. I read it 3 times, each time slower than the last. Stepping aside. Do something similar, maybe bigger though. Like I was some wedding coordinator she'd hired and forgotten to tip. I didn't respond. I couldn't. I just stared at the message until my vision blurred. I was still sitting at my desk at work, and for a second I felt like I couldn't breathe. Not from panic. From rage. Pure, vibrating rage. She thought I'd given it to them. Tyler must have told her that. My parents too. They rewrote the entire situation in their heads until they believed it. That I'd handed over our wedding with a smile and a handshake. Like I was honored to let the golden boy shine one more time. I went home that night and told Emily everything. Word for word. She didn't cry. She didn't yell. She just sat there, arms crossed, her jaw clenched tight. They're never going to see you, she said finally. Not really. Not for who you are. She was right. I started preparing for war. The next morning, I drafted a message to the venue and vendors confirming everything. Moved up, secured, paid for. I made sure the guest list was finalized and trimmed. Only the people who actually supported us were getting invites now. That meant a few cuts. Hard ones. But necessary. Then I blocked Tyler and Kayla's numbers. 2 days after that, my parents showed up at my apartment. Unannounced. Emily was at work, thankfully. I opened the door to see my mom holding a folder and my dad standing behind her with his arms crossed like a disappointed principal. Spencer, my mom said, pushing past me before I could stop her. We need to talk. Now. I shut the door, but didn't move from it. I'm working. This won't take long, she said, tossing the folder onto my coffee table. That's everything Kayla's parents have prepared so far. Venue details, seating chart ideas, color palette. Though she really does love what you and Emily picked out. She's hoping you don't mind if she wears a similar style dress, maybe in ivory. I just stared at her. Mom, what are you doing here? My dad finally spoke. We came to give you a chance to do the right thing. You've been avoiding your brother. You blocked him. That's not what family does. I laughed bitterly. And what do you think family does? Takes their oldest son's wedding and gives it to the youngest because he got someone pregnant. My mom sighed dramatically, like I was being unreasonable. Spencer, stop being so sensitive. You've always had a chip on your shoulder about Tyler. This is an opportunity to show grace. To show maturity. I clenched my fists so hard my nails dug into my palms. You think maturity is just giving in? Letting people walk all over you? Letting him take everything I planned? She stepped closer, dropping her voice like we were in a courtroom. You don't have children yet. You don't understand what it's like to see your son scared out of his mind, about to become a father. Tyler needs this. You don't. I don't need my own wedding. You've always had everything figured out. You're smart. Responsible. You'll be fine. There it was. The final nail. They didn't help me because they thought I didn't need help. They let me drown in silence because they assumed I could swim. Tyler made a mess. And instead of making him clean it up, they handed him my towel and told me to sit out. I walked to the door and opened it. You need to leave. My dad looked shocked. My mom blinked like I slapped her. Spencer. I said leave. They didn't argue. They just gave each other a look, like there he goes again, and walked out. My dad mumbled something under his breath, probably ungrateful, and I shut the door without watching them go. I stood there for a long time. Not crying. Not shaking. Just still. Like my whole life had been rerouted, and I was finally standing at the real fork in the road. They'd chosen Tyler. Again. But this time, I wasn't stepping aside. I was stepping out. And they were about to find out what that looked like. Because the next day, I sent out the new invitations, digital and physical. Moved up date. New time, same venue. We were getting married 2 weeks earlier. And we weren't telling my family a single thing. They wouldn't know the wedding had already happened until it was too late. The silence after I sent out those new invitations was deafening. There was no chaos, no sudden fallout. Just this eerie stillness. Like I dropped a lit match into a forest, turned around, and walked away before the flames caught. I kept expecting a reaction, a confrontation, but nothing came. Not yet. Part of me wondered if I'd done the right thing. If pushing them out, if taking control like that, was too extreme. But every time that guilt crept in, I reminded myself what had led me here. The phone call, the texts, the complete disregard for Emily and me, the smug message from Kayla, the folder tossed onto my coffee table like I was the secretary in charge of filing someone else's happiness. No, this wasn't petty. It was necessary. Still, that didn't mean it didn't hurt. The days leading up to the wedding were some of the loneliest I've ever felt. I'd always known my relationship with my parents was strained, but I don't think I understood how deeply that wound ran until I stopped trying to cover it. Without the constant effort of reaching out, accommodating, and keeping the peace, there was nothing. No calls, no texts, just this quiet void where my family was supposed to be. Tyler didn't reach out again either. I guess once he thought the wedding was his, he figured his work was done. I wondered if he and Kayla were already picking out the music for the ceremony they thought was still on the calendar. It made my skin crawl. I should have been excited. I should have been counting down the days with butterflies in my stomach. Instead, I was buried under a thick fog of stress and guilt and disappointment. I kept telling myself to focus on Emily, to focus on us. But every time I tried to imagine the wedding, a part of me just felt hollow. And then came the message from my cousin Brian. Brian was one of the few people in my family who didn't buy into the golden boy narrative. We grew up close, same age, same sense of humor, and over the years, he'd seen the cracks in the facade. He was one of the few who replied to the new invite without hesitation. His message came through the day after I sent them out. You finally did it. You stopped playing their game. Proud of you, man. I'll be there, suit pressed and speech ready. Let me know if you want me to keep quiet about the date to anyone else. I've already heard whispers from your mom. She thinks you're having cold feet. I stared at the message and let out a dry laugh. Of course she did. Because to her, there was no universe where I would stand my ground. No version of Spencer that said no and meant it. Brian's message gave me more than just a moment of relief. It gave me perspective. I wasn't alone. I wasn't crazy. Someone saw what was happening and didn't try to minimize it or spin it. It was the first time in weeks I felt understood. That Friday, 1 week before the new wedding date, I came home to find Emily on the couch, scrolling through her phone with this look on her face, somewhere between disbelief and amusement. She turned the screen toward me. You need to see this. It was a Facebook post from my mother. We're so excited to be planning a beautiful ceremony for our youngest, Tyler, and his lovely fiancée, Kayla. Things are moving fast, but love doesn't wait. Ring thank you to everyone who's been so supportive during this exciting time. We can't wait to celebrate at the vineyard in just a few short weeks. Clinking glasses. I read it 3 times. The comments were full of hearts and congratulations, and such a beautiful couple, and can't wait. I felt like I was choking. They really think they're taking it, I said slowly. They really think they're just sliding into our wedding like it's a hand-me-down jacket. Emily nodded. They've made the announcement. Now they can't backpedal without admitting what they did. It's public now, which means they're going to be blindsided when they find out. I didn't reply. I just sat down, quietly, and read through every comment. Some from extended family, some from friends of friends, all congratulating the same people who stole our moment. Emily leaned her head on my shoulder. You okay? I will be, I said. I think this is just the part where everything falls apart first. And it did. In the days that followed, the weight of it all finally hit me. Not just the betrayal, but everything that came before it. The years of dismissal, the casual cruelty, the way they turned me into the safe, invisible one so they could pour everything into Tyler. I started waking up at 3 a.m. again. Old habit from college when I was juggling 2 jobs and finals. I'd lie there in the dark, staring at the ceiling, running through everything I could have done differently. Maybe if I'd spoken up sooner. Maybe if I hadn't let them walk over me so many times. Maybe if I'd drawn the line 10 years ago instead of now. But one night, lying there next to Emily, something shifted. She was asleep, breathing softly, one hand resting on my chest like she always did. And I realized, this was my family now. Not the people who raised me, not the people who told me to step aside, but the woman who saw me, loved me, stood by me even when it meant cutting off the people who were supposed to care. That was the rise. It started small, quiet, just a feeling at first. But it grew. I stopped checking my parents' social media, stopped wondering what they were saying about me behind my back. I poured myself into preparing for the new wedding date, into making it something ours. We added personal touches that hadn't made it into the original plan. Emily rewrote her vows to include a line about resilience. I changed the playlist to include our favorite late-night car ride songs, the ones we never showed anyone. We trimmed the guest list further. We didn't want anyone there out of obligation. Only people who truly wanted to be part of our lives moving forward. I started sleeping better, eating better. I took a week off work and spent it with Emily in our apartment, rehearsing our first dance, going over the seating chart, laughing again. The night before the wedding, we held a small dinner with just our closest friends and a few family members who had stood by us. Brian gave a toast. He stood up, glass raised, and said, "Most people don't know what it takes to walk away from people who are supposed to love you unconditionally. But Spencer did. And he did it with grace, with strength, and most importantly, with a woman who makes him better, not smaller." To Spencer and Emily. Everyone raised their glasses. I was crying before I even got out of my chair. That night, Emily and I stayed in separate rooms, just like tradition. I sat alone in the guest room, staring out the window at the quiet street below, and I felt something I hadn't felt in weeks. Peace. I was about to marry the love of my life. In a venue we chose. On our terms. Without the people who tried to take it all away. And none of them knew it yet. The next morning, I put on my suit, tied my tie, and looked in the mirror. For the first time in years, I saw myself clearly. Not as the forgotten son. Not as the background character in someone else's spotlight. I saw Spencer. A man who fought for his peace. And won. And as I walked out that door to the waiting car, I knew the real fallout hadn't even started yet. But it was coming. And I was ready. The morning of our wedding arrived like a quiet exhale after a long, suffocating silence. No drama. No texts. No last-minute chaos. Just sunlight pouring through the windows and the distant sound of birds somewhere outside the vineyard's private suite. The staff was already bustling outside. Chairs being aligned on the lawn. Flowers being fluffed, soft jazz playing through the venue speakers. It was calm, intentional, ours, and no one in my family had any idea it was happening. That alone brought a strange satisfaction. After everything, after being asked to cancel my wedding for the sake of my brother's recklessness, after being guilt-tripped for saying no, after being treated like the venue coordinator for someone else's life, the fact that we were standing there, marrying each other on our own terms, that was its own quiet revenge. But it wasn't enough. Not yet. I didn't want to just avoid my family. I didn't want to slink off into the sunset, quietly living my best life while they pretended they hadn't trampled all over me. I wanted them to know, to feel it, not out of cruelty, but because people like that don't learn unless the mirror is held right up to their faces. So, as the wedding began and I waited at the altar, watching the guests arrive one by one, real friends, chosen family, people who mattered, I was already planning the next move. The setup, the moment they would realize they hadn't just pushed me aside. They'd been left behind. Emily walked down the aisle like a dream. I don't even have the words to describe it properly. I'd seen the dress before, obviously. We'd done the whole fitting rehearsal. But nothing could have prepared me for the actual moment. She was glowing. Not in the cliché way. I mean it. She had this serenity on her face, like she knew she was stepping into the next chapter with no regrets. As she reached me and slipped her hand into mine, we both smiled. We were doing this. Without them. The ceremony was perfect. We read our vows under the arch we'd picked out ourselves, surrounded by flowers my mom once called too rustic, with music Tyler once complained was a little indie and weird. Every single thing we did that day was something my family would have tried to nitpick, control, or overwrite, and every moment felt like a reclamation. When it was over and we kissed to a round of cheers, I finally felt something I hadn't in months. Power. Not the kind that controls others. The kind that reclaims yourself. The reception was intimate. 40 people, max laughter. Dancing. No pressure. No strained small talk. Brian gave another toast, this one lighter but still cutting in that way only he could manage. To Spencer and Emily. The only couple I know who managed to plan 2 weddings in 1 year and still ended up with a better one than the original. May your love be stronger than family politics and twice as fun. Everyone laughed. I laughed too. But my mind was already turning. This wasn't over. We had 2 weeks until the original wedding date, the one my family thought still belonged to us, the one they thought they were going to hijack. They were probably getting invitations out by now, probably asking Kayla's cousin to be a dear and call the caterer, probably fielding questions from out-of-town guests who were confused but too polite to push. They thought they had a wedding in 2 weeks, and they had no idea it had already happened. That night, After the last guest left and Emily and I were back in the honeymoon suite, still in our wedding clothes, still glowing. We lay in bed, holding hands, staring at the ceiling like it was the final chapter of a movie we'd both written. "I think we should tell them," I said, breaking the silence. Emily didn't move. "You sure?" I nodded. "Not now, but soon. I want them to find out right before they try to take it. I want them to see exactly what they lost and exactly who we are without them." Emily turned to face me. "You're not doing this for revenge, right?" I smiled faintly. "Not entirely. I'm doing it because I need them to stop pretending like I don't exist, like I'm just a placeholder in their narrative." She looked at me for a long moment, then nodded. "Okay," she said. "Let's do it. But we do it smart." And we did. Over the next week, while on our staycation honeymoon, we decided to save the big trip for later in the year. We quietly began preparing. I started by printing out a selection of wedding photos, nothing too flashy. Just a few beautiful shots of us at the altar, a wide angle of the venue filled with guests, a candid one of our first dance. I made sure each photo clearly showed the date they thought still belonged to them. I had them framed. Next, we drafted a letter, not to my parents, but to the family group chat. Yes, there was one. A Facebook Messenger thread that had been dormant for weeks, likely waiting for my mother to light it up with his save the date for Tyler and Kayla's magical shotgun wedding. Emily helped me write it. The tone was calm, grateful, almost sweet. "Hi everyone. Just wanted to share some exciting news. Emily and I got married last weekend. We decided to move the date up a bit and keep it small and intimate, just close friends and loved ones. It was beautiful, and we couldn't be happier. Attached are a few photos to share the joy. Love to all." That was it. No anger, no sarcasm, just a clean, quiet message. We attached the photos and sent it. Then we turned our phones off. We went out to dinner that night, just the two of us, to celebrate again, because we could, because we deserved to. When we turned our phones back on the next morning, all hell had broken loose. The group chat had exploded. My mom had replied first. "What? You got married without us? Then, you moved the date? What? Then, why wouldn't you tell us? Spencer, this is incredibly hurtful." Followed by a flurry of shocked responses from aunts, uncles, and cousins. Some congratulatory, some confused, some clearly caught in the middle of whatever war was about to begin. But the best one? "Tyler, are you freaking kidding me? You stole the date?" We already started planning. Kayla's parents sent out invitations. "We told everyone we were using your venue. You knew we were counting on this. And then, you ruined everything." I stared at that one for a long time, because the irony was so thick it could have been sliced like wedding cake. I ruined everything. They tried to steal my wedding. And now that they were finally facing the consequences, they were stunned. I didn't reply. Neither did Emily. We just let the group chat burn for a while. Let them stew. Let them come to terms with the fact that we had moved on without them and done it better. But I wasn't done yet. Because remember that venue? The one they still thought they had reserved? Yeah, that wasn't going to fly either. I called the venue coordinator, Vanessa. She was sweet, professional, and had been following this drama with more interest than I expected. When I explained that my brother was under the impression he had booked the place in 2 weeks, she laughed. "Your mom did call a few days ago," she said. "She wanted to confirm the family date. I told her the venue was booked and paid for, and that there was no upcoming wedding on our calendar." And how did she take that? She said, "That must be a mistake. My son had this booked for months." I offered to send her a receipt to clarify whose name it was under. I smiled. "Did she take you up on that?" "Nope." Hung up mid-sentence. "Of course she did." Vanessa paused. "Would you like me to follow up in writing? Just to really nail it down?" I considered it. "No," I said slowly. "Let's do something better." I asked Vanessa if the venue was free on the original wedding date. She checked. It was. I booked it. Not for a wedding, though. For a private party. It was poetic, really. The same date. The same venue. The same chairs and altar and soft jazz drifting over the vineyard fields. But this time, there would be no ceremony. No happy couple. Just stunned silence and the harsh ring of reality settling into the bones of the people who'd tried to erase me. We had it all planned. 2 weeks after our Real wedding, on what was supposed to be our original date, and what my family believed was now theirs. We rented the venue not for a wedding, but for a catered, private celebration of closure. That's what the event listing said. We told Vanessa, the venue coordinator, to be prepared for possible confusion, and she assured us she'd handle it with grace. I wanted this to be calm, precise, not explosive, because my family thrived on mess, on chaos, and I wasn't going to give them the satisfaction of seeing me flustered. This wasn't a tantrum. This was the invoice for everything they thought they could take without consequence. It began with the guests. Emily and I had quietly reached out to a few people we suspected would be caught in the crossfire: friends, extended relatives, plus ones, anyone who might have been misled by my parents or Tyler into thinking there was a wedding happening. We explained the situation gently, told them we appreciated their kindness, and made it clear there was no ceremony. Not that day. Not ever. Not for them. Most were shocked. Some were embarrassed. A few confessed they'd already bought outfits or booked hotel rooms. But the tone was consistent. I had no idea. They made it sound like this was still your day. Exactly. Then came the invitations. 3 days before the original date, my mother sent out a group message, because of course she did. Just a reminder for everyone. Tyler and Kayla's ceremony is this Saturday at the Vineyard. Please arrive by 3 p.m. sharp. So excited to finally celebrate love and family together. Attached was a picture of Kayla in a long white dress, clearly not fitted properly, holding a fake bouquet. Probably a trial shot. I didn't reply. Instead, I posted on Facebook. Publicly. No drama. No callouts. Just a gentle nudge. Thank you to everyone who made our wedding so special a few weeks ago. We're so grateful for the love, the laughter, and the memories. Here's to new chapters, and letting go of what doesn't serve us anymore. Attached was a photo of Emily and me dancing under the fairy lights at the Vineyard. It was beautiful, romantic, and time-stamped. It was the match. And Saturday, that was the fire. Emily and I didn't attend, of course. We'd already lived our day. This was their moment to face what they'd done and realize that for once, they couldn't spin it, twist it, or talk their way out. We heard the story later from the venue coordinator and, amusingly, from several guests who called or messaged me afterward in stunned disbelief. My parents arrived first, dressed to the nines. My mother wore a pale lavender dress with a fascinator that made her look like she was auditioning for a British soap opera. My dad had on a brand new suit with the price tag still tucked into the back slit. They strolled in confidently, waving at staff like they owned the place. Vanessa greeted them politely and asked for their booking name. Well, it should be under Spencer, my mother said, smiling. It was originally his, but my younger son is using it now. There must have been a note. There is no booking for today under that name, Vanessa said gently. My mom blinked. There must be. This is the right date. No, Vanessa replied. This is a private event, not a wedding. The venue was already used for Spencer's ceremony 2 weeks ago. Silence. That's when Tyler and Kayla arrived. Kayla, in her ill-fitted dress, holding a real bouquet this time. Tyler in a suit he probably borrowed from someone who still irons. They looked confused at first, then mildly annoyed. There's no arch, Kayla said to a staff member. Where's the arch? There's no wedding scheduled today, came the response. Panic started to spread. Guests trickled in, one by one. Everyone expecting a ceremony. Everyone confused. Some laughed awkwardly. Some called me. The best part? Vanessa had placed framed photos from our wedding on the welcome table. Not maliciously, just as part of the venue's decor from the last event. One wide-angle shot clearly showed Emily and me kissing under the arch. The date, printed in the corner. My mother apparently stared at that photo for a full minute, then stormed out. Tyler tried to call me. Twice. I let it ring, then blocked the number again. Kayla's parents were humiliated. They'd invited dozens of their own friends, thinking they were stepping into a classy vineyard wedding. Instead, they wandered into a glorified picnic. Because remember, there was still an event happening. We hadn't canceled it. The caterers still came. The champagne was poured. But instead of vows and music, guests were met with a light buffet, an instrumental jazz, and a few printed signs that read, "Sometimes closure looks like peace, not people. Not every family deserves a seat at the table." Subtle, quiet, but devastating. That night, Emily and I went out to dinner. No phones, no messages, just the two of us, reliving our real wedding, laughing about the storm we'd sidestepped. We toasted to each other, to our friends, to the life we were building, free of guilt, free of obligation, free of people who only called it family when it benefited them. I did hear from my mom one last time. 2 days later, she emailed me. Not called, not texted, just one cold, bitter email. Subject: You've shamed this family. Spencer, I cannot believe what you did. You humiliated your brother. You made us look like fools. I don't know when you became so cruel. I raised you better than this. You've burned a bridge that cannot be rebuilt. Don't expect us at Christmas. Don't expect a call. We're done. I read it once, then deleted it. She wasn't wrong. I had burned the bridge. But not because I was cruel. Because it was never really a bridge. It was a plank. And I was done walking it alone. The fallout wasn't loud. It was slow, quiet, real. I lost a family, but gained a life. I lost people who expected my silence, but found people who celebrated my voice. And when I looked back on it, on everything, from the phone call to the final reveal, there was no guilt left. Only clarity and peace. Because for the first time in my life, I hadn't just stood up to my family. I'd walked away, and I never looked back. Sometimes the only way to be heard is to stop speaking and start living.